Chris hit us up. He said, why do people just assume Ohio State can win a national title every year? My answer is because they can win a national title every year.
Lay hold of it. You lay hold of it. And when that thing tells you to quit, you look at it in his eye and say, I ain't going nowhere. I will break you before you break me. You will not defeat me. You will not destroy me. Some of you are so ignorant. You've been through so much hell. You gonna quit now? You should have quit 10 years ago. You should have been quit. You don't quit now. It's the 10th round. You got 2 more to go. And when you get to success, it's not about skill. When you get to a certain level of success, it's about stamina. It's about stamina. It's about you won't break me. You can't take me. It's too late now. It's too late. You should have broke me a long time ago. I'm unbreakable now. The only chance at this point is you gotta kill me. And you gotta kill me now. And then when you kill me, my legacy will live.
Welcome into the Voice of College Football Ohio State channel. Got my guy Mike with me. Please do like and subscribe. We are going to deliver you the best post-game show in the Ohio State media, whatever you want to call it out there, whatever it is. We are going to be talking all about this Iowa game and how Caleb Johnson, he's from Ohio, so I'm rooting for him, but I definitely wasn't rooting for him in this game, and he didn't have the best one. Mike, man, what's up, and how you feeling about Ohio State locking down, at least the starters locking down Caleb Johnson?
Yeah, I mean, hey, you know, he wanted to go to Iowa so that he could beat Ohio State, man, and appreciate the bulletin board material because the defense was definitely making sure that you didn't hold him under his season average as well. And like you said, he only got to score against my backup, so it is what it is.
Yeah. The starting D-line had him really going through at the first part of the game. So really appreciate everybody being here, whether you're here commenting or whether you're here just watching, or maybe you're watching after the fact. You're not even here with us live. We appreciate you being here and watching, joining us in. We are going to be talking all about this Ohio State win over Iowa. People were saying we'd be tested, and they were a little bit in the first half, but come the third quarter, Ohio State scores on every single drive. They score on the first drive of the fourth quarter as well, and they really start to run away with it. So Mike, my question is, so it wasn't really like a slow start because they only had one drive in the first quarter, but it was kind of like in the second quarter, there was the turnover on downs, there was the interception, there was the fumble. Like, you really can't ask for a worse second quarter than what you had out of the offense in that one. What were your thoughts about that?
I mean, again, you know, like I said from the very beginning, you know, you got a freshman out there. He is going to make mistakes, and you have to be able to live with those. You know, I can't be mad at him. He was giving max effort, but those are just some things that's going to have to be coached up on. But, you know, Will Howard, you know, still working through some things. He still has those risky throws. Shout out to Bryson Rogers catching one of those. But the Buckeyes roll, man.
Yeah, man, they did. And he had another risky throw to Emeka Egbuka in the end zone, but thank goodness it was right on target. It was exactly the right arm strength. I mean, everything you needed. It had to be the perfect throw to Emeka Egbuka, and he got it there. Really felt like he turned it on really, really well after the interception. I think he started, 100% for like less than 100 yards at the beginning of the game. Then he had that interception. Then he started throwing the ball deeper, that deep ball to Jeremiah Smith. I was like, all right, I'm glad it was completed. That was way behind him, but I'm glad it was completed. So at the end of the day, I can't really nitpick him too much. He got 5 touchdowns on the day for Will Howard. It is what it is, but for me, just clean up the interceptions, make some better decision making. And if this offensive line, man, we talk about the run blocking, the pass blocking of this offensive line has been pretty doggone good as well. Will Howard not sacked once in this game, I believe, if I'm correct there. Oh, he was sacked one time in this game. That's the second time he's been sacked on the season. Pretty incredible pass blocking from this offensive line. What do you think of pass blocking, and what do you think about Will Howard overall, Mike?
Man, I just think that this offensive line just continues to get better and better. And people was like, oh, look at who you played. Look at who you played. And, this preseason was the game that I said was going to test our offense to see what we were going to be. I think it's going to be one of the best defenses that we play in the Big Ten. And definitely, that first test. And the Buckeyes got that first test. So shout out to the offensive line, and then the run blocking. You're still seeing guys be able to get to the second level. And also, let me say this. I want to say in the pass blocking, Iowa ran a stunt on our left side of the O-line. Mm-hmm. And I want to say shout out to Josh Simmons and also Donnie, because they did not get confused on the stunt that Iowa tried to pull on them. And I remember last year, that's what we got beat on a lot, and there was no chemistry. Shout out to those guys for working in. Donnie has been out majority of the season, but, turned it on them.
Yeah, he really did. I mean, you can see why they trust the left side of that offensive line so much. Donovan Jackson, All-American. You got Josh Simmons, who, if you've been reading the hype this week, they're talking about first-round potential. We all knew he had it in him. We all knew he was athletic enough. We all knew he had the size for it. He just had to prove it on the field, and right now he is proving it on the field. And so the NFL scouts are definitely taking notice, talking about him as a potential first-round pick. Awesome to see. We can't move on from Will Howard, though, until we do talk about some of the concerns, Mike, which I don't want to, belabor these and stick on them too much. But, there were some zone read concerns, him and Quinshawn. There were multiple times I'm like, man, just give it to Quinshawn. And there was the fumble when he had the exchange with Quinshawn as well. The risky throws, not only being risky with throws, but he was late on a few throws. I'm not dogging the guy, but I do think we need to acknowledge him. What's your thoughts, Mike?
Yeah, and here's the thing. It's not dogging him, right? You're just bringing up facts of what we saw on film, on the TV, right? And obviously we can go back and reassess some things, but there were definitely some things of concern. And like you were saying, late on throws, I also want to put in there that Will Howard was in a clean pocket, and sometimes he did not allow plays to develop, because there was a time if he had waited a couple seconds, you saw where JJ was coming open. I seen another one where Bryson was coming open, and I'm just like, hey, I just felt like there was no point in rushing it, because like we talked about, the offensive line was really doing a good job against Iowa's front. But yes, he has to stop being late on the throws. The one that Jeremiah caught, he that should have been his touchdown right there. Right. Shout out to his one-hand touchdown and everything, but it should have been a touchdown. The only reason that it was underthrown was because Will Howard was late seeing them open, man. But hopefully this is something that they're going to work on. I will say this, the one deep ball that he did throw and overthrew JJ, I'm not mad at him, because most of the time you're not going to overthrow him, but I like you trying to lead your wide receiver. That's something that I would like to see more of rather than underthrown balls.
Yeah. When they came out playing man coverage on our wide receivers, I thought, oh, shoot, Will Howard's going to go out there. He's going to test these guys deep a little bit more. He didn't really. I mean, there were a couple times, like you said, the JJ pass there that he overthrew, and then the one later that he underthrew, but JJ still came up with. I like to think that Will Howard knew that JJ had that one-handed catch in him, so he was like, all right, let me underthrow this one. Let me throw it back to JJ, get his highlight reel. It's not a true Ohio State game anymore if JJ doesn't have a highlight reel. One-handed catch or something. So the best part about that, though, Mike, the best part about that catch was he caught it and he just shoved that Iowa defender right off him. Man, he made him look like he didn't even belong guarding JJ Smith. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw my tweet, but I tweeted out like, get off me, B, let's go, JJ. Like that, because that's basically what it was. And also it reminded me of the Michigan State game when that DB, thought that he could bully on our little freshman and JJ's just holding him out there with one arm. I mean, everybody was clowning us like, oh, you're going to count on the freshman. What does that say about your team? That means that you don't have the wide receivers. It's not that. He is ready-made. He's ready-made. Now, like I said, there's some things, that he got to work on, some ball security things, and that's just mental. But physically, athletic-wise, he has it all. And you hear his cousin, Geno Smith, saying he is going to be the best wide receiver we have ever seen. And right now, it's looking like it. They were talking about he's about to break Chris Carter's records.
Yeah, they weren't lying about him. He had 4 catches, 89 yards with a touchdown reception in this one. Another wide receiver who had a great game I want to make sure we talk about. And we'll talk about Carnell Tate in a second. I see some people asking about him, but let's make sure we give our flowers to Emeka Egbuka. He was targeted 11 times in this game, had 9 catches for 71 yards and 3 touchdowns. He only had a long of 15, so he was really playing this kind of possession receiver role for Will Howard, really kind of being that reliable guy that he could go to each and every time. Not really something you're used to seeing out of Emeka Egbuka, but man, just this season, it just seems like he is willing to do whatever it takes for the team this year. Not that he hasn't been willing to in the past, but just this year, you can see that leadership, the embodiment of, team first. I'm going to get mine when it happens, but team first. I'm going to block the heck out of the guy in front of me. I'm going to be there when my quarterback needs me. I mean, just talk about the exceptional game we saw from Emeka Egbuka, Mike.
Yeah, I was a little bit critical of Emeka, the couple drops that he had before. And then this game, you just seeing him keeping his eyes right on the ball, looking it in. And that's why he was able to make the difficult catches, because he kept his eyes on the ball, made sure he secured the catch first. So I want to say, like I said, we want to see improvement. That's what we saw from Emeka. And he was locked in. He made some difficult throws. We talk about, obviously, JJ's is always going to be viral and something, but those weren't easy catches that he was making. You're talking about making catches, sometimes probably losing the ball through, defenders' hands out there and things like that. And he was just catching them in a very tight window. So shout out to Emeka. Like you said, he's been doing the dirty things. And then I also want to give him credit. He is still going out there and smacking people and doing his job when it comes to blocking. So kind of a little Terry McLaurin reminders right there, the way he's out there blocking.
It amazes me how many times they put him in motion, and before you see, he's like playing fullback at times. Before you see Quinshawn or Travion hit the hole, you're seeing Emeka Egbuka come up into that hole and hit a linebacker, hit a safety, whatever he has to hit. Yeah, I'm convinced if there's a defensive tackle there, he'd take him on, dude. He is just going out there doing the dirty work. It doesn't matter. He's total team player this season. You can see he is just embodying that, idea of coming back and being the team leader, trying to get this championship. I was a little concerned. No Carnell Tate coming into the game. On the injury report they put out 2 hours before the game, he was listed as questionable. He did warm up with the team. I saw some of that in the pregame. However, they did keep him out. That leads me to believe this was kind of like Tyleek Williams, or maybe there was something nagging with him. We don't know for sure. And maybe they were just like, hey, let's hold off on him. We can take down Iowa without him type of deal. Bryson Rogers, definitely not the blocker that Carnell Tate is. I'm not trying to dog him, but, it's noticeable when you have Bryson Rogers out there blocking instead of Carnell Tate. That's more of a, a compliment to Carnell Tate and how good he is, rather than a dig at Bryson Rogers. But, no Carnell Tate, no problem, it seemed like, Mike.
Yeah, and that just goes to show you how good this Ohio State wide receiver room is. Obviously, with time, he's going to get better on those on blocking and things. We know Chip Kelly's going to make sure of that. But also just what Bryson Rogers was doing in the past game. Like I said, there were times where he was open. The announcer even showed on a replay where he was streaking upfield wide open. Nobody's even thinking about him. And I know those plays are going to come to him. It can be frustrating. Young man, just wait your time, because I do see the special route running and things of him being able to get open. And like I said, he made a very, very tough catch. And I think it was like 3 Iowa Hawkeyes around him when he made it. So, I mean, Bryson Rogers, just wait your time, man. It's coming. But like you said, Buckeyes was able to do it without Carnell Tate and go ahead and get the dub.
Yeah, for sure. And also Brandon Ennis as well. He had that huge catch on what was it, 4th and 2, 4th and 3, where Jeremiah Smith juked that guy out of his shoes. I hear everybody talking about how elusive Ryan Williams is. Give Jeremiah Smith his flowers, all right? He was pretty elusive against those Iowa DBs there as well. But yeah, Brandon Ennis coming over the middle. Will Howard trusted him enough to throw it to him on 4th and 3, 4th and 2, whatever it was. Great stuff there. Let's also talk about these running backs, Mike. Smash and dash, they were calling them. And I can't say I disagree. Now, I think Travion's got some smash in him. You saw him take down that safety, one of the very first runs of the game. I was like, oh, Travion, dude, there are kids watching, man.
And my son was sitting next to me watching, and he was like, oh, and I said, that's how you do it, son. You run right into his mouth. My son was loving it. So, yeah.
I was loving it too, man. There was a part of me that was like, Travion, I wish you kind of would have like just juked him out of his shoes or something and then went for 6. But I mean, I tell you, I love watching Travion when he puts his head down and he's willing to hit the guy. It shows he has no fear. He is all about just taking the guy in front of him down and making sure they realize, hey, if you're going to stand in front of me, you're going to get hit. You're not going to hit me. You're going to stand in front of me. You're going to get hit. Judkins averaged 6.9 yards per carry. Travion 5.5 combined for 130 yards rushing on the day. Your thoughts, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, and Judkins just looked like he was feeling this in this game. You could just see early on that he had a high hand in it. I think it's scary that we could have fed that guy way more than what we did. And like you were talking about, the physicality that these guys are having is just something different that we're seeing from all of our running backs. Even James Peoples, we're seeing that physicality, and I'm loving it because I guess you can call me old school. I was a big Jerome Bettis fan. Get on the bus. You know, anybody who knows me, I like Mayan Williams. I like Chip Trainum because of how physical they ran. And I just remember how my coach used to get mad at me because he would say what you were saying. You could have juked them, went this way or whatever, but nothing felt better than going up against somebody, lowering your pads and taking a manhunt and just saying, it's going to be a long day for you. You know, I'm going to be here. And, you know, Caleb Johnson, hey, you could have been nice at Ohio State. You know, you did. You could have been nice, but hey, it is what it is. You wanted to lose. You know, we just going to speak on the fact you wanted to lose. You didn't want to beat Ohio State.
Well, and you know, Caleb Johnson, I think he's still got maybe a year or two of eligibility left, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see if he puts himself in the portal and says, you know what, my goal of trying to beat Ohio State, maybe I'll just join them instead.
We'll see if that happens. Yes, sir.
I do want to, before we move on, man, Quinshaw Judkins, that stiff arm to Jay Higgins' face. They were loving on Jay Higgins in the broadcast, which I mean, rightfully so. He's a great linebacker. Don't get me wrong, but man, when he put that stiff arm right in Jay Higgins' face and just slammed him on the turf and said, "Get out my way! I'm heading this way. You're going down on the ground." I loved it, man. That was a fantastic stiff arm by Quinshaw Judkins.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why they said, you know. You call Judkins smash and Trey dash, but shoot, Trey was like, hey, I can smash too, you know? So I love it, man. Our guys are just playing different. And this is something that Coach Locke has emphasized, you know. You have that free hand. You need to use it more. It is an advantage for you, and you're seeing the advantages being used each game.
Yeah, for sure. And I do feel like we need to touch on Will Howard in the run game as well. I know we were kind of, you know, questioning some of the zone read stuff, but at the end of the day, 10 carries, 28 yards, 1 touchdown run on the day, breaks the Iowa not allowing a single touchdown run on the season. He's able to bring it into the end zone there. And so that was impressive to see. Wasn't, you know, a whole lot of huge runs by Will Howard. I think he had the 12-yard run to get the first down at one point, but a lot of small runs, kind of the things you needed at certain times. So gotta compliment him there. What'd you think about Will Howard and his running ability today?
Yeah, Will Howard, he did okay. I would say that you can tell that we have not ran Will Howard a bit, but the more that we ran him, the more comfortable he began to look. Because at first I felt he was running a little bit timid, but then he became very strong runner, started to look good, was gaining some yardage as well. So I think that we just need to make sure that we keep adding that in there, get Will going. Cause even with Will throwing the interception, after that, dude was on fire, right? So I just think we need to find ways to get Will going early, get that blood flowing, because like you say, on just about any level, quarterbacks aren't really getting hit, man. And you would hear from guys saying, hey, I just need to get hit a couple times and then, I get going. And Will might be that type of guy.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. That marks 4 games in a row with a touchdown run by Will Howard. Like I said, 5 total touchdowns on the day. For him, very cool to see. And as much as, we don't like the interception and stuff like that and some of the throws, you got to compliment him and give him his flowers where they're due. Another big part of this running game, and I know some people are talking about defense. We'll get to defense in just a second. Another big part of this running game was the offensive line. Talked a little bit about their pass pro earlier, their run blocking. I mean, it's fantastic. I love to watch the offensive line when it's in a running situation because Chip Kelly gets really creative with the way he does some of his stuff. What he does every now and then, I don't know if anybody is seeing this stuff, but what he does every now and then is he takes his tackle or his guard on the side they're running to, and they will sit back like they're getting ready to do pass pro, and then he will pull two or one or two guys from the other side, bring them in to create the hole, and then that guy that was setting up to pass pro will then go and block the linebacker in front of him. It's really, really creative what Chip Kelly is doing, and I love that he's putting these offensive linemen in a good position. You have any thoughts on the run blocking of the offensive line, Mike?
Again, I'm loving it this year. Just the way Chip Kelly's calling it, just the way they are executing, the way that they are being physical. And it's funny because just thinking last year, I felt like the holes were just very, small, or they closed small, very, fast. And sometimes you're just like, dang, like you could almost drive a go-kart or something through those holes. So I'm very, very proud of this offensive line, and hope they can continue to build on that momentum.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why we've seen Ryan Day be more willing to go for it on 4th down this season. Obviously, he's talked about how, he's getting into the numbers more. They have somebody on staff who's helping him with the numbers more and stuff like that. But I feel like in the past, he, wasn't too sure about the offensive line and didn't know if he was going to go for it at times with short yardage situations. I mean, I never want to go back to the thoughts of the short yardage situations that we had the past few years. This year, it seems like anytime it's short yardage, I'm like, look, you have so many different options. You can do so many different things. You have trust in Will Howard to throw a good ball underneath. You have, the offensive line who's going to block well. You always have the QB sneak, stuff like that. So, just really, really good stuff there. All right, Mike, let's move on to defense. We mentioned it at the top of the episode, but held Caleb Johnson to less than 100 yards rushing. That was even with him trying to come up and pad his stats against the backups a little bit, which he did get his touchdown run. That's fine. But that was against the backups. The numbers before the backups came in was not great for him. What'd you think about Ohio State? I mean, this was somebody they were talking about Heisman possibly. I mean, so anybody want to say like, oh, it's Iowa's offense, don't give them, don't say too many good things about it. This was a guy who had Heisman talk at one point, and they shut him down.
Facts. And, that's obviously what the critics are going to say. Oh, Iowa doesn't have any offense and everything. But if you saw, Kate McNamara actually came out on fire. And here's the thing that people just need to understand. When you're playing a team like an Ohio State or an Alabama and stuff like that, especially when you're talking about in the Big Ten, everybody wants to play Ohio State. Everybody wants to beat Ohio State. And like you heard Caleb Johnson talking before the game, like 2 days before the game, him and his team want to beat Ohio State. So, I mean, they came out, they were ready for this game. They tried to give us everything that they had, but our defensive line, they were pushing people back, giving our linebackers opportunities to make plays at the line of scrimmage and a lot of times even behind the line of scrimmage. So shout out to the defense holding him under his average, man. You're muted, brother.
My bad. I was doing math while you were talking. So he had 38 yards rushing on that last drive when he got the touchdown. He had 86 yards rushing completely on the day. So if we do the math for that, that's what 78 minus 3. That's 48 yards rushing on the day on 12 carries that he had against the starters. So make sure if you see anybody out there talking on Twitter about the stat line, almost 100 yards, make sure you set them right. 12 carries. 48 yards rushing. That's less than 5 yards per carry. Definitely want to give Ohio State's defense, and specifically that defensive line. Let's talk about them for a second, Mike. That defensive line, Tyleik Williams is back. He is showing how much of a leader, how much of an MVP he is by being back. Jack Sawyer, I felt like today got a lot of the recognition with the QB pressures and that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, this defensive line looks different with Tyleik Williams in there.
Yeah, definitely looked a lot different with Tyleik Williams in there, man. And you could tell that he just was eager to get back on the field and was out there doing his job. I mean, I think he's going to definitely be a day 1, day 2 pick. He has that skill set. We just need him to stay healthy. And to be honest, I'm glad in what our staff is doing, keeping these guys healthy, holding them out and saying, hey, we really don't need you this game, because there were games where I remember Tommy was out there and it's like, Tommy don't need to be out there. He's hurt. Play. But it also goes to show the depth that we have, where, hey, it might not look the prettiest, but we can get through. But when you have all your starters out there, it's like pick your poison, what you want to do with this defense.
Yeah, and I think Ryan Day did a good job of articulating why it's so impactful when they were doing their little interviews this Wednesday. He was just talking about Tyleik Williams, his football IQ, and how he doesn't just keep that to himself. He's also communicating that to the other players. Kind of, they didn't give him the coach on the field label like they give to Caleb Downs, but definitely somebody who's talking with his teammates. Speaking of Caleb Downs, he's been activated again for another game. They just keep activating him, Mike. He is fantastic. I can't say enough. Caleb Downs, probably the best player on this team, if not the best. He's one of the best players on this team. Now, he doesn't always get the recognition because he doesn't have, as many tackles and stuff like that as other people. But when you're playing the position he's playing, you don't necessarily want to see, the most tackles from that player. Your thoughts on Caleb Downs today?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Ohio State fans definitely know how it is when your safeties have the most tackles. And that's definitely something that we don't want to see ever again. So, but when Caleb Downs is needed, he always shows up. Even the one little broken play that Caleb Johnson was able to get off on, hey, he was able to stop that from being a touchdown, stop that from being an even longer gain as well. And you just continue to see him. And I think in next week's game, you're going to see him activated to a different level. I am very excited to just continue to see how Caleb Downs continues to perform.
Yeah, I feel like it's just going to get better week to week. I mean, it feels like this guy can't have a bad game. No, I'm going to jinx him now or something like that. But it just feels like
I knocked on wood for you.
Yeah. It feels like anytime he's in there, you trust the defense so much better. So let's talk about Sonny Styles as well. I think he deserves, to acknowledge how good he was. People have been talking, should Sonny be playing so much? I've got a little bit different opinion, and I think I voiced it a little bit. He is still learning position more and stuff like that. So I was okay with him getting more snaps, especially against the Marshalls, the Western Michigan, stuff like that, just because I was like, listen, let him learn, let him do his thing type of stuff. Well, they went with 3 linebackers in this game multiple times because of the 2 tight end sets that Iowa was putting out there. And so they kept Arvell, Sonny, and Cody Simon in there multiple times. And specifically when Iowa was pinned up against the goal line, inside the 5 in the third quarter, I think it was, Sonny came up with a tackle for loss, and then he came up with a huge tackle that honestly, if he didn't get it, I think Iowa might have gotten the first down there.
Right.
So Sonny Styles, great game. I still think people are probably still going to be like, let's continue to see it, but we gotta address he had a good game, and I feel much better about him playing after watching this.
Yeah, and it just looked like the experience was getting there, where he was able to play faster and wasn't thinking. And I mean, we heard all week Ryan Day was talking about that, right? He was talking about we need to allow the guys to play fast. We need to simplify things. We need these guys to go out there and beat athletes. And that's what we got to see Sonny Styles doing. This is what the Sonny Styles that we wanted to see. So I think that it could be, Sonny getting the experience with also a mixture of the scheme just being simplified where he doesn't have to think as much.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that, credit goes to Jim Knowles and James Laurinaitis as he continues to improve this season as well. So we also got to talk about another guy who struggled a little bit last game, but came back in this one. And man, if you're a freshman wide receiver, you do not want to see David Sitting and Benosin out there, dude. He is putting some of those dudes on the turf, and he's just showing them, hey, get out the way. He had an interception in this one, which was a very good point by the broadcasters. The ball was tipped. I thought it looked like pass interference. I was like, oh, okay, we got away with it, but ball was tipped, so obviously he could have been as handsy as he wanted to been there. Your thoughts on Iggy, that pick? What you think?
Yeah, Igbinosin, being physical, and to be honest, I think he looked better in this game because we played a lot more press coverage, right? And I think that that's what he's better at. Look at how our defense looks when we're playing off the ball versus when we're playing man press coverage. That defense just looks 10 times better to me. I'm sorry, it just does. And you saw how physical he was and able to see the ball being tipped through the guy. Now you keeping the guy in front of you. Your head is still here. You see the ball tip. Now shout out to the awareness, because that's another thing that people don't understand. That's the experience, the awareness to know, hey, I could throw this guy now, catch this ball. And I almost thought he was about to house that, man. He was honestly running so fast. I didn't realize how fast Iggy was.
Yeah, man, he was bullet shot out of the cannon there, whatever you want to call it, man. He was going for it. I was rooting for him too. I was like, man, go. I was hoping he would get it, but he got stopped just short. 3 overall forced turnovers on the day for Ohio State. This was the kind of the game, last week I was talking like, okay, we got turnovers, but we were also kind of letting Michigan State move the ball a little bit. Cade McNamara, he did start the game pretty well, so I'm not going to say they completely, stopped him the entire game. However, they forced the turnovers. They got pressure on the quarterback. I mean, I know there's always something to complain about. Ohio State fans will always find it, but man, this was a shutout by the starters in this one. Can't really complain too much. I felt like this was overall, just a very, very good defensive effort. What you want to see from the Buckeyes going against a respected good team, albeit not ranked, but a respected good team.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what you want to see. They went out there, they took care of business, even when the offense went ahead and had those turnovers. What did they do? They held them scoreless. That's what your defense is supposed to do. Shout out to them. Jack Sawyer coming out, going ahead, knocking the ball out. And then from there, you just saw Cade McNamara didn't seem as confident as he was before. So, I mean, shout out to our defense, man. I do want to see what Jim Knowles is going to do next week, though, because I mean, I really want to see that press coverage, man. It really looks like it gives quarterbacks and our defense, they got their ears just pinned back, on fire. Also, we was talking about Caleb Downs, man. Caleb Downs went in on the blitz. He was coming shooting like a missile out there, and you saw a guy tried to block him, couldn't even block him. Man, I love it, man.
I love it too, man.
Yeah, it just seems like Knowles has been holding back, right? A lot. And you know what they say? They say good teams win, great teams cover the spread. Did the Buckeyes cover the spread?
I'm pretty sure what they were favored by, like, it was like similar as last week. It was like 21 or something like that.
It opened up at 21. And then
it was
dropped down to
17.5.
17.5. So, I mean, great team cover, you know. Let's go, Buckeyes. What you mad about, Buckeyes?
That's what you like to see. That's what you like to see. So I'll be honest. I missed the drive when Iowa scored. My kids were in the bathtub, and my wife needed me to go watch them for a second. So I'll be honest. I unfortunately I missed that drive just because I was helping out the family. Mike, do you have any thoughts on that drive? The backups letting them score.
What it looked like to me is just guys out there, not with the experience, right? Fell for the little motion that they did with the offensive line and everything. The linebackers' eyes got out of position, and that's how he was able to score. I mean, those are things that happen, but these are the things that I like. Now, guess what those backups get to do? They get to go. They got those game reps. Now they got the experience. Now they can learn from that mistake. Now you can watch it on tape. Like, here's my thing. Like, everybody think, oh, the backups are gonna come in, or this young guy is just gonna come out and not make any mistakes. That is not gonna happen. What you want is you want to get them game reps so that they make the mistakes now, you know, in these type of games. So that way when the game's on the line, they're not making those same mistakes.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I love it.
Switching gears for just a sec, Mike. We'll get back to Ohio State in just a second, but they're talking about it in the chat, so I feel like we have to mention it. Vanderbilt just scored. It is 40-28 against Alabama.
No way.
Listen, there's no way Alabama should be even ranked top 10 after this. I mean, you played a game where you nearly let Georgia come back and beat you, giving up. I mean, congrats, you started off hot, but I don't know, man. This is pretty embarrassing if you're an Alabama fan to be losing double digits to Vanderbilt right now, albeit on the road, but still, Vanderbilt is not a good team. This is not a team that, you know, is 4-0 right now.
2-2.
They're 2-2. They are not a good team. I know you're probably not watching the game, but have any thoughts on the impact if Alabama does lose this one?
I mean, here's the thing, and I already know where SEC fans are going to go with this. This is
watch Vanderbilt be ranked after.
Yeah, right. So this is exactly where SEC fans are going to go, man. Vandy has a good team this year, right? That's the thing about the SEC. Anybody can catch you. I mean, and here's the thing. That's what you can say about any conference. You can say about any game. Like, and that's what people don't understand. This just doesn't happen in the SEC. This is like Ohio State losing to Purdue. This is like Ohio State losing to Iowa. These things should never happen, you know? And hey, you on the big time stage, Kalen DeBoer, you know, I mean, this is not Nick Saban. And we learning and we seeing it in real time, not Nick Saban.
Yeah, we're noticing that Kalen DeBoer is not the coach Nick Saban is. Nick Saban would never stand for this. Nick Saban, he would be chewing those guys out on the sidelines just to be sure. So we know 2-2. It's not like, oh, they lost to Georgia and they lost to Tennessee or something like that. They beat Virginia Tech in overtime at home by a score. All right, Virginia Tech, who Rutgers beat, who Miami beat. I mean, like all these other teams beat Virginia Tech. Not even on the road, at home. They beat Alcorn State. Congrats, FCS win. They lost at Georgia State. I don't know why they went to Georgia State, but they lost at Georgia State, a G5 school, and they lost at Missouri, who just got blanked by Texas A&M today. Did they get shut out? They were shut out. Well, now they scored 10 points. So, obviously in backup time, they came in there and did score some points. But I mean, tell me, Mike, what is this like? Like, Alabama losing to Vanderbilt is like Ohio State losing to who in the Big Ten? Purdue, Northwestern, UCLA?
It's like losing to Rutgers when Rutgers first got in like the Big Ten, right? Yeah, like that's the team that you're supposed to be 56-0 or something like that, 56, maybe 10 or something, That's how I feel. I mean, obviously Rutgers not that same team. I would say right now, the way Wisconsin beat Purdue, that's what I would expect from, Alabama, right? And what you're seeing, I think like maybe if Wisconsin had played Bama later on in the season after they done got, some chemistry and things like that, hey, maybe they look like a different team against Bama. I don't know, but this is very concerning. Bama fans should definitely be concerned about this as well. But I'm very interested to see what the AP poll voters are going to do. They're going to say, hey, this is an anomaly. They just played a hard game. We're going to hear more excuses than actual criticism, right?
Yeah.
I just want people to get ready for that.
Yeah, don't fall for the trap. Like, oh, Vanderbilt's actually kind of a good team. No, they lost to Georgia State. They barely beat Virginia Tech at home. Guys, do not fall for it. All right. Too many Big Ten fans fall for the SEC hype, the SEC, whatever. Like, Vanderbilt is not a good team. Do not fall for it. Okay. We can say they're a decent team or something like that. Okay, but they are not a good team. Don't be going out there and saying that this is a good team that Alabama is losing to.
Did you see what happened to, somebody just brought it up, did you see what happened to the number 9 team in the nation?
Yeah. Which Texas A&M is ranked, so that's going to come out as like, oh, they lost to a ranked team. It's like, okay, the 25 team.
Yeah.
I
think Rutgers I think the Rutgers and Nebraska game should probably have been a ranked game, but hey, that's just me.
Yeah, which don't sleep on that game right now. Obviously, keep it locked in here, but 3 minutes left in that one. Rutgers down by a score. They got Nebraska 3rd and 6 right now. So, if you're paying attention to another game as well as listening to this, go check that one out. All right, let's continue on with the Ohio State talk here, Mike. Special teams. I don't think there's a whole lot to talk about, but we do need to talk about probably Brandon Inniss. We were really excited with him to begin. Maybe not doing as hot here coming in. He had the punt return that he caught like within the 10-yard line and didn't fair catch it. And he tried to get it out of the 10-yard line, but he didn't, stayed back there. Is there talk about Brandon Inniss needing to give up punt return, kick return, maybe Mylan Graham, as Daniel puts it out here? What are your thoughts, Mike?
Honestly, I like Brandon Inniss as our punt returner. I don't think that he's the issue. I could say sometimes I wish he'd just go ahead and get vertical. Stop a little bit of the dancing, because sometimes that's how it is. You have to, get up, get your max speed, and then you're making, it's supposed to be like one cut. That's how I believe like punt returning is, but here's the thing. I think that we could do better on our punt return blocking. I think even on kick return, I think we could do a better job blocking. So Ryan Day said, hey, I'm taking over this special team stuff. You have the position coaches out there. They need to coach their guys up on that blocking, which obviously it's the backups, right? We talked about it. Some of our backups don't block as well as our starters. Well, we need to work on that. That's something that we need to get a little bit physical in practice and work on blocking.
Yeah, for sure. Got to bring that mentality back that Urban Meyer had, right? You're not going to play unless you prove it on special teams. Got to make sure that mentality is there. So I'm not sure, special teams haven't been awful this season. You had the kickoffs that were weird and stuff like that. But, I wouldn't say punt returning has been a weakness by any means. The muffed punt return that was called back, definitely something you don't want to happen in a tight game, but still. So we'll see how it goes, but it's definitely on my radar moving forward. Continue to watch this and see how it goes. Coaching, I didn't really have a whole lot of thoughts on coaching, Mike. There was a little bit of Knowles and like what he's doing with his scheme. He was pressing more in this game. We kind of talked about this already. I feel like Knowles is in the situation now where he feels good enough about his guys that he's going to kind of match what the offense is doing, and he's going to trust his guys there. I felt like we still probably should have seen more Hancock this game just because he is so good in run defense and stopping the run. But your thoughts?
Yeah, we actually saw Lorenzo Styles was out there. Did y'all see that? We sent him in on a blitz. My whole thing is I don't like us playing off. I feel like we have the DBs where we should be able to be aggressive whenever we want. I don't like us sitting back as much, but also, like we say, knows says, hey, when he wants to activate Caleb Downs, and when he activates him, the defense looks different, right? So maybe this is stuff like where he's like, hey, I don't really got to be in my bag really for this team. And I'm wondering, it's a long season as well. Our biggest game is next week against Oregon. I am really wondering, hey, is he saving what we really about to do? Because it's like 1 minute we're playing vanilla, then all of a sudden we turn it up sometimes in the second half, or at the end of the second quarter, and get put the teams away, right? Yeah. But I'll tell you this, and I've always said this, a lot of people were against no scheme in 2022 and how aggressive it was. And I actually love the scheme. I just felt like we didn't have the Jimmies and Joes in the secondary to do it. And I really feel like we have that this year. And so I'm hoping that Jim Knowles mixes that up a bit, because imagine you have a Sonny Styles, who some believe could possibly be an edge, or a CJ Hicks in there, or Cody Simon, those type of athletes going in and coming straight downhill. Because remember, we were seeing Tommy and Steele at the same time. We were seeing like 6 guys, and it would put quarterbacks under duress. But sometimes we had like a Cam Martinez who didn't know what he was doing out there. Or we have, Caleb, what's his name? Caleb Brown.
Oh,
was
yeah.
it Caleb Brown? Yeah, I didn't even.
Cam
I
Brown.
thought,
Cam Brown.
Cam Brown. I thought Cam Brown was like, he was telling us he was like a 4.3 guy and everything. And then I don't know if you saw his score on the 40, but I was just like, we didn't have the Jimmies and Joes, bro. We just didn't. But we got him now. Like I said, you see how fast Iggy is. You know how Burke is. Like you said, how Hancock is. Like, I want to see that defense come back out, man. That's what I want to see from those.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think we got the Jimmies and Joes this year. You definitely trust your guys a whole lot more. I was really interested in the defensive scheme because I do feel like this is a team that plays a lot like the team up north plays. Obviously, there are differences to it. Cade McNamara has an arm and he can throw, unlike the guy that's starting up there right now. But still, at the end of the day, I felt like the scheme that we saw today against Iowa is similar to what we are going to see against that team up north, which, I mean, they stopped the run really well, so I can't really complain about it too much, other than the one big long run that Caleb Johnson had, which I think it was Lathan Ransom eventually got up there and pushed him out. At the end of the day, I can't complain too much. It worked well, but I'm with you. Maybe some more blitzing, some more of that stuff, but we'll see. We'll see where it goes. So, recruiting really fast. We'll touch on this. Sanchez family was there. Always good to get them back in the mix. Brady Edmonds, he was visiting as well. He's kind of on commitment watch. If you've been reading the stuff out there, I made a video about him this week. If he doesn't commit by, I'd say Monday or Tuesday, because his visit does extend into Sunday. If he doesn't commit by then, I might be getting a little concerned, because he is going to Texas next week as well. Now, I'm not saying majorly concerned, maybe just a little concerned, but what's your thoughts on that, Mike?
Man, this is the 27 kid.
Yep, 2027.
Yeah, and what I think the issue with Ohio State sometimes with top quarterbacks has been getting them, late, right? And I think you need to go ahead and solidify this kid right here tonight or tomorrow morning before he leaves. Like, I think that you need to go ahead and solidify that and go ahead, start building the class. Having guys, I don't, how we do at Best Damn Media. If we see this guy highlight tape, we're gonna go ahead and start pushing the promos and everything for him. But the good thing about that is it gets other top ranked players being like, man, I could see myself playing with that quarterback. It goes ahead and starts building that class. And that's definitely something that I want to see. It's a little concerning going to Texas when you see what's going on with Quinn Ewers, you see what's going on with Arch Manning, and the way Stark is in his track record with quarterbacks. So I hope that Brady saw, hey, I'm a little bit better here, or I can do this here, and things like that. I hope that we show him, hey, we're not going to always bring in a transfer quarterback. We hope that you can be that guy.
Right. And I mean, let's keep it 100 too. Like Ryan Day has a more proven track record with quarterbacks than Steve Sarkisian does as a head coach. We can talk about offensive coordinator, stuff like that, but as a head coach, Ryan Day has a more proven track record. Now, Sark obviously has Quinn Ewers ready for the NFL. We'll see if he's able to do well or not. And Sark obviously is getting Arch Manning ready to do well in college football. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you judge Sark like you judge Ryan Day, it's like, okay, you can get the guy ready for the NFL, but if he doesn't do well there, was he really all that ready, So you got to take that into account. And I think even like, some people want to go at Ryan Day for the Kyle McCord thing, which don't get me wrong, like Kyle McCord was the worst quarterback that Ryan Day ever started at Ohio State. I'm not trying to defend him, but like you see what he's doing over at Syracuse. He's throwing 60 passes a game, and he's one of the only reasons, that they're still in these games.
With that, I want to know why this past offseason, Kyle McCord went and worked with a QB coach, but we didn't really hear him working with a QB coach when he was at Ohio State, like in the offseason and stuff. And I honestly think that has a lot to do with it. But then also, what you say is, these players, they take on the identity of the head coach, right?
Right.
And obviously, like Fran Brown, we know how aggressive he is, his mentality. And I wonder if Kyle, picks up on that, because to be honest, I see him being aggressive. I see him out there slinging the ball, and I'm like, dang, where was this Kyle at? And I'm like, why we couldn't get this Kyle? Because, I mean, to be honest, bro, I think like if he was at Ohio State, he'd probably be putting up numbers. I would be honest.
I think he would be too. I think he's shown a much better job of being able to. Vandy just got the first down. Vandy wins.
Let's go. Somebody said that in the chat. All Vandy needed was a first down.
Heroes in the chat. Appreciate that, Hummus Hero. I was watching this over here. That was a crazy play to get a first down on. But yeah, no, I think Kyle McCord, like I said it from the beginning, it worked out so well for both parties because I don't think Kyle McCord would have ever felt comfortable enough to be as good as he needed to be at Ohio State, but he went to Syracuse and Fran Brown. I mean, he put everything into Kyle McCord. He's like, you're my guy. You're going to reason that we're going to win games this year. And I think Kyle McCord is thriving under that, and he's thriving under Fran Brown as his head coach. So, at sometimes you just head coach and quarterback don't mix. Obviously, Kyle McCord has talent. To me, he might be a better thrower of the ball than Will Howard, but I'm much more glad we have Will Howard because I think he's calm, I think he's cool, I think he's collected, and it's no shot at Kyle McCord. Go be great over at Syracuse. Honestly, I'm rooting for him. I don't want him to do bad. I hope he does well, and I just hope Will Howard does well here as well. So
yeah. And I also, we was talking about recruits, man. Shout out to the Sanchez family because I always see them in the comments, watching Buckeye Rose, engaging with fans. And it was just so, and then they, be watching Juck and everybody, for minutes and stuff. And I just thought that it was awesome. Posh had the video of them going in the tunnel with the players and stuff. And, just how much they have embraced our fan base as well. And they feel like Buckeyes. They seem like Buckeyes to me. I know that Sark was just there, landed his helicopter there, and a lot of the fan base was concerned. But like I said, if you still see Mama D, if you still seeing her in the comments or whatever, you still see her out there hanging out with the team and stuff like that, I wouldn't be concerned, man. They seem like Buckeyes through and through.
Yeah, I mean, they seem like they just want the decision done and over with. Definitely seems like a family that probably doesn't hate the recruiting process, but, they know it's what's best for Devin to just make the decision, go with it, trust it. And if anything happens, you reevaluate from there, but just make the decision and trust it. So we'll also trust him to keep recruiting Neemoffer to make sure he's coming to Ohio State as well.
That's the one that I'm worried about. But to be honest, I feel like we've done a really good job with our DBs. What I don't want is for us to lose either one of our linebackers that we have.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
my biggest worry. Like I went to the games, watched Riley Pettijohn, and just watched how he, can take over games and how physical he is and downhill and his instincts and things like that. Those are type of players that, you want to make sure that you have, especially, us and Jim Knowles having and James Laurinaitis. We've been having to rebuild that linebacker room back up to Ohio State caliber. It's not hating on the players. We appreciate them. But here's the thing. If you're going to say that there's a standard here at Ohio State, the standard is the standard. You hear Bobby Carpenter say it over and over. The standard is the standard. So.
Very true. Very true. All right, let's talk about some of these Big Ten games from today. Nebraska just beat Rutgers. Rutgers made it interesting there, but their offense wasn't able to drive the ball down the field. So, good win for Nebraska here. I am a little bit of a closet Rutgers fan, so my heart does hurt a little bit for the Scarlet Knights and Greg Schiano, but, I'll be fine. I'll keep watching the Buckeyes, and I'll make it through. On top of that, we had Penn State beat UCLA 27-11. Kind of a, you expect them to win by more, especially at home for Penn State, but at the end of the day, they still get the win. Wisconsin trounces Purdue 52-6. Looks like Purdue has nowhere else to turn, man. They are just like a puppy in a corner right now that's lost and has no way home. You got Indiana taking out Northwestern. Pretty interesting game up until the end when Indiana, which I tweeted it out there on my Big Ten account. Guys, Curtis Rourke deserves some talk for Heisman. What he's been able to do so far this season, he struggled a little bit against Maryland, but he's not a bad quarterback by any means. And then, of course, you had Oregon taking down Michigan State on Friday night, and you got the team up north going up against Washington right now. Your thoughts on around the Big Ten, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, Big Ten games been pretty good. Like you said, the Northwestern Indiana game was definitely pretty interesting. And then Indiana, I want to say they ran the ball. I think the score was like 24-27. Northwestern needed a key stop right there, and you just saw Indiana go ahead, run the ball in for a score, and that kind of just changed the whole momentum, and Northwestern wasn't able to score again. After that, Indiana was able to score after that. So shout out to Indiana and what they've been doing. I mean, from the beginning, they said that, they're not here to be the other Indiana teams. They are actually here to compete with the big dogs. So I think it's kind of interesting we have them before the team up north game. So that's interesting. Wisconsin, like I was saying earlier, they look like, they're finally finding themselves offensively.
Offensive line played much better in this game.
A whole lot better, man. And I hate to see what's happening to Purdue. I was kind of rooting for this head coach, but, man, here's the thing. I remember Urban, used to say it about coaches, leaving. Make sure that you're going to the right program and make sure that you can recruit.
Yep.
That's the big thing. And I know some of these coaches just want to be head coaches so bad, but the way that college football is going right now, you're not really a head coach. You're almost like a CEO, general manager type, right? So you're like running a company. So, I mean, before these guys I think that those things still are remaining true. I think that also you have to, when you're talking about recruiting as well, you will have to now also throw in that NIL, like go somewhere where there's a strong NIL collective, strong booster that's going to give to your program. And Penn State, they were without Nick Singleton this game, which I think is their best running back. Offense looked, they looked like they started off a little bit slow, kind of picked it up. UCLA, I feel bad for them guys. They have no depth, and you just saw Penn State was just running the ball, wearing on them, and they honestly have no depth. They did have a couple.
Quarterback played okay today. Their starter got injured, and their backup played okay today. But you're right; it just
he didn't look like he even actually get really comfortable until the end of the game. So I mean, it is what it is. I hope that they can go ahead and get that fixed up. But I think it's going to be a long season for UCLA and Purdue.
They almost there at the beginning of the game. I think they were right outside of Penn State's red zone, and they went for it on fourth down and didn't get it. So they
Yeah.
almost scored and got the lead early in that one, which kind of would have been on par for Penn State a little bit. I got to ask you this question, Mike. All right. So you got 4 big opponents left this season, and I'm not trying to disrespect any of the other ones, but there are 4 ranked opponents left on the schedule. You got Oregon, you got that team up north, you got Indiana, and you got Penn State. I won't even say big. I'll just say you got 4 ranked games left on the schedule right now. Of those 4 games, where does Indiana rank for you for concern? Because I know it sounds kind of weird. I'm almost more concerned with Indiana than I am Penn State. Now, obviously, we go to Penn State, so that, especially if they're going to make this the whiteout, I don't know if they've announced the time yet. Well, I know it's not the whiteout, but whatever happens with that, if it's a night game, we know for sure they're going to be going crazy there. I mean, where's Indiana ranked for you in list of concern with those 4 teams?
Man, with those 4 teams, I say it's highly concerning because they're a really, really good football team, and we're going to be playing 2 really good football teams back to back. So that is very, very highly concerning. Now, ranking them on teams, I mean, I would say
I
would
think
put them
they're
at
either
probably 3.
third or fourth, one of those
I
2.
put them 3 because I would be more worried about Indiana's offense being able to score points and stuff, more than I'm worried about that team up north. It just is what it is. I mean, they've been able to get these games. Honestly, I feel like these games that they have won, like the Minnesota game, the Arkansas State game, has really been because of the head coaching decisions on the opposing teams. Like PJ Fleck, bad play calling on defense when you could have got a stop, right?
Right.
Also, bad clock management on your last drive, allowing the clocks just to keep freaking running. You're not doing no tempo or anything.
Yep.
You had a chance where you could have went ahead, scored, and you didn't even have to worry about an onside kick. You could have worried about getting the ball back. So there's things, that's very, very, very concerning about that team up north. Like I have said, they can get it together by the end of the season. But right now, I rank that team up north. I definitely rank them 4. I'll probably rank Penn State 1 because Penn State always plays us close and they know us better than anything. And then Oregon 2.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, if it didn't come down to the rivalry and the aspect of winning after dropping 3, stuff like that, which we all know those 3 games weren't legit. However, that kind of stuff, I'd probably have that team up north down there at 4 as well. But with just how much this game seems like it's going to mean this season for this team and Ryan Day and everything else, I don't know if I can go that low with them. So interesting topic though to talk about. Vandy did it. Mike, Vandy took down Bama. They showed a graphic on the screen. Vanderbilt has never beaten a top 5 team in college football ever. This is a huge upset, possibly one of the biggest upsets in all of college football history. I know you didn't catch the entire game, Mike, but you agree with me? Bama should not be ranked top 10 after this one?
No, Bama should not be ranked top 10. But here's the thing. This is why I like what the college football playoff does when they come in and do their rankings. And I really wish the AP poll would just probably do the same, right? Or maybe do it a week before or something like that. But these preseason poll rankings just tell you how trash they are. These AP poll rankings tell you how biased they are. So, I mean, and I don't know. Have you ever actually looked at what people be ranking these teams, bruh? And the teams that they be putting against, ahead of Ohio State sometimes. And I'm just it makes no sense. And I'm like, how are you not getting your stuff taken away from you?
Totally agree.
I think if they did that, we might have a more accurate poll, but until then, it's a joke. You know, these are things that we said that, you know, we should expect from Bama because it's not a Saban-led team, you know, where like Kirby Smart, he learned 10 years under Saban. A lot of these coaches, you know, have learned under Saban. DeBoer has not.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was saying, well, Saban's still in the building. Okay, but Saban doesn't want to go step on this man's toes, you know, like
He's also not on the sideline with a headset, man.
Exactly. So, I mean, he can't hold his hand. He cannot hold his hand. Now, I mean, it's something that they're going to have to get through. I think you have to balance being a player coach and a tough coach. And I know in this day and age, it is very, very hard, but DeBoer is going to have to find that 50-50 middle ground.
Yeah, I totally agree. To me, just add Alabama to the list of overrated SEC teams that were ranked way too high. Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Missouri. I mean, those are the 5 I think of right away. I'm sure there's more, but to me, just add them to the list because at the end of the day, you're exactly right. They had high preseason rankings, and everybody's going to think, "Oh, this is a great team," but you know, they're obviously good. They have good recruiting classes and good rankings, but you still gotta play it on the field. So, Mike, next week obviously we'll be back here after this game, 3:30 CBS at Oregon. This is the game we've been waiting for, man. I feel a little bit. Hummus Hero's right. LSU as well. Thank you, Hummus Hero. I feel a little bit of the concern, however. I don't feel as concerned about Oregon as I did at the beginning of the year. They're still undefeated, so
I put
it's not
3:30.
like
It's a 6:30 game on.
Oh, is it 6:30? Okay.
6:30 on NBC. My apologies.
Oh, okay. No worries. Yeah, so 6:30 on NBC. Sorry about that, everybody. But yeah, so we're looking forward to that game. But I gotta ask your opinion, Mike. Are you feeling like maybe not as bad about the game going into it? I mean, they opened up as lines 2.5 favorites to Ohio State on the road. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, they now have Ohio State favorite, but I remember before the season and stuff like Oregon, what was the favorite? This is the game that I say, hey man, Ohio State could probably play Oregon twice this year. You know, maybe in this game we might take the L and see them in the Big Ten championship and win it. We're on the road. I'll tell you this: we can't have the turnovers that we've had. We can't. We need to go in there. We need to play a clean game because if we played a clean game, I think that this game we'd have more than 35 points. That's my biggest worry is going in playing a clean game. I do think that in this game we need to go ahead and lean on the running game a little bit more. Allow Judkins to just go off. Like if he needs 15 carries, give him the 15 carries and get over 100 yards. Like I don't mind. We just need to go ahead and play a clean game. Get those safeties creeping up in the box, and then we go ahead over top where they're not able to bracket coverage and things like that. So
totally agree. And great news is Dylan Gabriel, he threw 2 interceptions against Michigan State on the goal line this past game. So obviously he is not somebody who I wouldn't say you don't worry about him. Obviously he's been a college quarterback for a long time. He's very experienced, but definitely somebody who has shown some concern. And Washington is gaining all kinds of yards on that team up north right now. So go over there. We're about to get off NBC. Washington, they drove the ball down the field, missed a field goal, and they just threw a big deep pass on the team up north safeties that let's be honest, they're not very good. You want to add them to the list of the overrated? Totally fine with me.
Hey, and here's the thing, like a lot of people haven't been paying attention to. Like, I don't think that Washington is really that bad of a team. They really kind of surprised me this year because I'm like, they lost everybody, coaching staff gone. Like that, you know, they're going to basically kind of be in rebuild, but that's not what they've been doing. And how many games have they lost? They lost 2.
They're 3-2. They lost to Washington State and whoever they played last week.
Rutgers. Yeah, both by single digits. One of them they lost by 3 points. The other one, they lost by 5 points. So they haven't even lost by a full touchdown. And I would say that they have been getting in their own way. If they do not get in their own way in this game at home and act like a home team, and the coaches actually coach and the coaches don't mess it up for the players, I said that this could be a game that team up north loses because the games that they have won have kind of been handed to them.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I was going to say. This is not a game that I think the team up north is going to win. If they do win, I think it's going to be one that's handed to them, because that's all Washington has done this season in their losses is they have handed it to the other team. They missed 3 field goals against Rutgers. One of them was from 50 plus. The other 2 were makeable field goals for them to win the game with. And then against Washington State, they drove the ball all the way down the field. They had a goal line last play of the game, and they ran a speed option to the outside, which is like, what in the world are you doing? And they're one of the most undisciplined teams in all of not just the Big Ten and all of college football. So in terms of on the field talent, I think they're a very talented team. But when it comes to coaching, when it comes to decision making, that kind of stuff, that's where you're a little concerned. Special teams as well with the kicking, that's where you're a little concerned. So I don't have it.
ESPN FPI had them at 57% going into this game, so they know something.
I think they had them ranked almost as high, if not higher than that team up north at one point this season, because I always check that stuff and the SP Plus and all that stuff just to try to get a gauge of the analytics of it all. But yeah, so there's a reason why they were favored in this one. And you know what? Washington, they're about to score. They're on the goal line right now. They're running it all over this team up north's defensive line right now. So
can't wait.
What'd you say?
I said can't wait to turn the game. I'm sure it's on my TV over there or on one of them. But yeah.
USC disappointed us. Let's hope Washington doesn't. So
defensive coordinators, man. Lord Jesus.
That's all I got for us, Mike. You got anything else before we get out of here?
Nope, guys, make sure that you catch us every week. I messed up. I will do better because somehow I put this and titled it as the Michigan State or whatever. Again, so I will do better. Make sure you're hitting that like and subscribe button. You can follow me on Twitter at 216_wildboy. You can see my handle right there. And you can follow JR at JRS_rankings on Twitter as well. And JR, you're also you do shows. Let the people know where you do shows at.
Yeah, the Big Ten Huddle over there. Do a Big Ten show every Sunday night, every Tuesday night. We also do a basketball show either Wednesday or Thursday, one of those two. And then tonight, actually, we have a power ranking show that's also simulcasted. All 3 of those football shows are simulcasted on the Voice of College Football Big Ten channel, so you can check us out in either of those 2 locations. Really appreciate you guys being here. Go follow, like Mike said, JR's rankings on Twitter. You also follow the Big Ten Huddle over there as well, where you'll find all kinds of stats and things like that, where you can brag to people and talk about how good Ohio State is, because Ohio State has really good stats right now.
Yeah. And then make sure you're tuned in. You can find me on Best Damn Media. I'll be on that platform on Sundays and Wednesdays as well, man. We appreciate you guys, man, and we are out of here.